right. Appreciate everyone being here. Good afternoon. We're excited to be up here talking to you. Excited to be here with Matt and with Trent and with Aaron as we kind of finalize our draft preparation. Finalizing the draft preparation under the leadership and the guidance of John Schneider. It's John's 15th draft. What makes this unique is that it's our first draft with Coach Mike McDonald and his staff. They've been absolutely awesome from the moment they walked through the door. We just finalized a really productive free agent period with them, free agency period. It's just been really collaborative. We've enjoyed working with them hand in hand and looking forward to being more collaborative as we work through the draft process. And then just wanted to make sure to recognize the contributions of everybody throughout the organization. We've got 11 members of our scouting staff. Some of them in the back, I think, looking for ammo for later. And then just wanted to thank them specifically, thank the coaching staff, thank the football operation, and the organization. And we're looking forward to moving forward. Thank you, guys.
Good job, Nolan.
We'll open it up to questions.
Nolan, what, if anything, changes about the process going into the draft and how players are evaluated with having a new coach and new kind of philosophies?
Yeah, in terms of the process, I would say it's familiar. We're going to work forward, move forward and work with the coaching staff and maybe get a little bit more specific as the process kind of develops and we get closer to the day. But I would say in terms of the evaluation process, this started, in the summer last year. So we've maintained our consistency throughout. These guys are a huge part of it. Our staff in the back is a huge part of it. And I would say it's very familiar. And that adds a level of comfort.
When you send scouts out, and for the last 14 years, you knew what the coaching staff wanted, and you knew what scheme was going to be run here and how those college players may fit. How long is it going to take to mesh that? It's going to be longer than these 2 months, right?
Yeah, Greg, it's a good question. I would say that there's only so much football. Okay, so despite there's going to be some intricacies and some changes to scheme and system on both sides of the ball, but again, there's only so much football, so you're really looking for productive, smart, tough, reliable, fast physical football players regardless. And then again, you get into the intricacies, you get into the specifics, and that doesn't take long. That's just a pretty natural conversation. So yeah, I don't see that being an issue. We're looking forward to a little bit of the change here and there, but I don't think it's going to be a stark contrast, but it's really positive and it's really exciting moving forward.
Aaron, how have the COVID years, that the extra years guys in college have had, how do they play into sort of the analysis and maybe the development that you're seeing of college players? Are they a little bit more mature, a little bit further along because they've had potentially more time in school?
I would say this, we're getting a lot more guys in the draft class. Guys are taking that extra year of eligibility than they have in the past, so we have more players still to kind of work through. But I would think that it doesn't really change in a lot of ways, if that makes sense. Like, the guys are still getting time to develop. More than anything else, it's really the transfer portal stuff that makes it difficult. The guys are transferring. They haven't been in one institution the entire time. So I would say more the COVID piece it's more the transfer portal piece itself than the COVID piece, I would say. And then, you got new coaches with that as well. So we're still a little lighter when it comes to numbers this year. But I think overall, the COVID stuff, I think it's up after this year. I think this year, next year. So then the numbers will be much more back to normal, I would think. So I don't think it necessarily changes with guys, if that makes sense, yeah. So
and the transfer portal part, is that just being able to see guys in a system for more than 1 year? Is it just trying to track where they're going? Like, what are the challenges?
That's been a process in itself. I know Kirk Parrish has been on that. Our interns, it's a constant evolution, right? These guys they can transfer a couple times during the year. So it's just keeping track of where guys are going. And we've got a pretty good idea. With social media and whatnot, you can tell right away who's going in the portal and who's not. pretty fast in that process. So we've done a pretty good job of keeping track of that. The combine helps us too. So, but
Nolan, aside from maybe the scheme might be a little bit different, but Pete Carroll obviously was a very influential voice in the organization. Does much change now that that he's not there and that John is sort of at the top of the personnel decision-making chain now?
No, I don't think, and John, I think, spoke to this, but they worked so well together that there were very few times. I mean, John was really in control on draft day and will continue to be. Watching him live during draft day is really, really impressive, and the way that he controls and commands and operates throughout the process. So again, the process stays consistent. So I don't foresee there being a lot of change in that regard either.
Trent, with the combine this year, you guys have been through a ton of these, and for a long time it was you guys and the coaches all together, all the interviews, all that stuff. Just how different did it feel this year when it was personnel guys with no coaching staff?
I'm not there because Pete had such control of the interview room. He loved that part of the process. It made it a lot of fun. It's a good chance to get to know the coaches better. So it's just, we had everything recorded. Video guys recorded that. So, excuse me, when we came back, coaches had the opportunity to watch all that.
What have been, this is for anybody who wants to answer it, what have been your impressions of Mike, and how have you seen like the dynamic between him and John?
It's hand in hand, as it has been in the past, but obviously it's a different relationship. It's going to be between the two of them, but it's been just as collaborative. Mike has a unique way of communicating and conveying his message directly but efficiently, and but also being opinionated, and that's all you can really ask is in terms of understanding and moving forward through the process. But they're going to work really well together, and looking forward to seeing it as it kind of grows moving forward.
Matt Nolan had pointed this out earlier. While the coaching staff is new, the scouting department and all you guys have been together for a very long time. How has that allowed you guys to refine just kind of the process of what's going to happen on draft day and all the conversations that you're having leading up to
Yeah,
this?
we're really fortunate, Jen, to have been together, most of us up on the stage over 10 years, and the group overall. So we know each other really well. We know, when we're talking about certain things having to do with makeup of a prospect, what guys mean. When we're talking about talent and scheme fit, we're able to talk the same language. That's a huge advantage. And it's been an advantage with us as a group to be able to convey that to the coaching staff as well, so that we're all talking the same language so that we can achieve alignment as we get, to the finish line here next week.
You mentioned getting the finish line. What does this last week look like for you guys? I mean, obviously you've put in almost all the work already.
Well, we'll meet with the coaches Friday and Saturday. We'll get back together Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, I think John is with Mike, and they're finalizing it. And we're on the phone a lot. We're trying to figure out the landscape of the league, just trying to button up the rest of the process. I mean, we've pretty much, this is the third time we've gone through the board as a group. So a lot of the questions we had coming out of February have been answered, and we're trying to get consensus and alignment throughout the building, from scouting to coaching to analytics, and we're all moving forward as one. And that's really the goal of our process.
Trent, I know you guys study yourselves and how you adapt to kind of how you've done each year, tweaks you try to make here and there. What's something you guys have looked to change and refine on over like the last 5-6 years from a scouting department staff, and kind of improve upon as you kind of evolve what you guys do?
I think we've incorporated analytics more and more each and every year. Patrick Ward and Becca have done a good job of, sitting in the draft meetings and interjecting when their opinion doesn't exactly match up with ours. So that's been probably one of the biggest differences throughout the process, is just the incorporation of analytics.
What part of analytics specifically has been added more recently?
You get more GPS from colleges, probably the biggest thing. There's PFF stuff that goes into it. We don't care about the grades. Aaron's a big proponent of that. He likes the grades. I'm kidding, he doesn't. So it's more of just, in terms of yards after catch, the smaller stuff like that. It's it's been more accessible recently than the past.
For any of the four of you, what advantages are there, if any, of having guys like Mike, who coached in college not too long ago, and then getting Grubb and Scott, guys who are fresh out of college? Is there any advantages at all to that?
Yeah, I think their familiarity with the prospects and in recruiting is always big. We've got a bunch of questions, right? We're trying to find if these guys fit our culture and fit what we're looking for. And so any information you can bring to that from another perspective we take and we add it to the mix and try to figure out if these guys are us, if they're competitors, if they're resilient, smart, tough, and reliable. All the words that you've heard John say multiple times.
In your careers, to that end, have you had guys and coaches in such dominant positions for scheme, head coach, offensive coordinator, who've come straight from college 3-4 months ago, in McDonald's case a couple of years ago? And how transferable is that, this draft process and the prospects, and not just from Washington and Michigan?
He came here, right? I mean, he knew basically everybody. So
has that given you a head start in that way, scheme-wise?
yeah, I think so. Just because they've recruited, they've been in the homes of the kids. So plus they just know how to deal with the younger kids now. I think Mike has incorporated that here, just with team meetings, doing 2 a week instead of every day. So that worked for him in the past, and I think he's going to continue to do that.
How have you guys seen the NIL change, maybe like the way players come into the NFL? I mean, they've already gotten paid. Does that change them?
I think it just gives us more information as we're evaluating makeup and character. It's the landscape we're in, like Aaron was talking about. Rosters are constantly changing. So if we're really trying to figure out a person's makeup, you're really dependent on the relationships you have in that school. If the player's only been there 6 months, your information is incomplete when you talk to who you talk to. So it's just one more element to our evaluation, how they handle money. Is it an issue? Is it not an issue? It can give us a lot of insight on how they're going to be once they get an NFL contract.
What's your network like? You're there at the college scout. How many, your staff, and then what's the communication like?
I would say this. I've been fortunate enough to be here this is 18 years now, I guess. So I've done a few different areas. Did some pro stuff early on. Moved in the Midlands, then did the Southwest, Southeast, and now I'm in a different role. So I've been fortunate enough, and then the turnover in college coaching is different, right? So it's always new in that regard. But I feel like we've got a pretty good network overall. Just not myself, but the guys up here, all our college scouts. Such a big part of our process is to dive into your resources, the relationship part of it, because then you're getting factual information. You hope, right? So it's been cool that way to watch those guys too. But all of our college scouts are well versed in that area. They do a great job of grinding and finding information, asking questions, continue to get more questions from those. And this, like we talked about earlier, like the process hasn't changed. It's still the same. And we come to somewhat of a conclusion here this weekend. We have the coaches. And then, obviously those resources as well. They're going to know the players like Matt had referenced and Trent had referenced. But I think all of our college guys do a great job of building relationships in these schools, no matter their area of expertise for their area they're doing, and finding out information on these guys so we can keep asking questions so we understand the person, kind of player we're getting in this building. That answers your question.
Yeah.
And how far are you going because of the transfer portal? How far back? Are you going back to 2 and 3 schools now with prospects?
I think you have to, Greg. Like, we're trying to figure out as much as we can on these guys, right? So we get it right in the end as a group. The positive thing about that, the transfer portal thing, is the guy might have been in a West Coast school and he goes to the Southeast, and the guy on the West Coast probably knows that guy better because he was there for 2 or 3 years sometimes, So he's going to have a little more insight, so we would lean on him. In our case, I mean, if it did a guy in Florida, it'd be, our Monty Perez does the state of Florida for us. I cover it, Matt covers it. Josh Graff does the West Coast for us. Those guys both do a great job, and they got a lot of resources. And it's just it's another avenue to work. Those guys, he might be able to go back on a guy from UCLA that he did, 3-4 years ago that's now at Florida. So it's just a relationships thing more than anything. It's something that's ingrained in our guys. They do a great job with that.
How much is that I'm sorry, Jeff, just to finish up. How much of a manpower time issue is that you have to now double back instead of one school, maybe three?
Depends on how good a player he is.
Yeah.
More than anything, right?
Yes.
But our guys, I'll say this: we might be guys that are free agents or guys we bring to rookie minicamp. Our guys are thorough now. We work. All those guys. Well, a lot of them are sitting in the back there. It's a testament to them. So, be thankful for their significant others, their wives, their kids, girlfriends or whatever. And those guys are gone a lot. So, they invest their time well, and they travel all over the country, and they grind, and they work their butts off. And I speak for these guys; they would agree with me. I think it's a hard job sometimes. It's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. So, a lot of time on the road, a lot of window time.
I was going to ask you this question, Aaron, but you've been talking a lot, so one of the others can fill in. But given everything that's happened in the college landscape and how the NFL game has changed, have the characteristics you look for in players changed over the years, or is it still going back to a football player is a football player and he looks like this?
And I think it always evolves to an extent, but the main points, the critical factors of football don't really change. I would say that if you're a good football player, you're a good football player, and it stands out when we watch the tape. You go out to practice, you go out to the game, usually those guys stand out. It's not hard to see it. So, I don't see a whole lot of, the game's evolved obviously, but I don't see a lot of change in the critical factors that make guys good football players.
What do each of your roles look like during the draft itself?
John yelling at us to find more trade partners.
Yeah, pretty much. And then as it gets close, we're just communicating with John. These are the players. This is who we think's going. This is a probability. This X player has visited these 4 teams that are ahead of us. Just kind of keeping tabs on that. And then we're on the phone pretty much constantly.
We split up the teams amongst each other and always trying to find teams that'll trade back or if we're willing to trade up. So there's always constant communication going on throughout the whole process.
Are you talking to GMs or other people like in your positions with other teams?
It depends. Sometimes GMs, sometimes it's owners, sometimes it's people in our position.
It really depends on the team.
You mentioned, I think it was you that mentioned about getting the board finally set the way you want it. How long is that process, setting that board? How much does it change as the draft approaches? And for any of you guys that want to answer, when is information too much information? And just say, okay, enough. This is what we know about this guy. Let's move on.
We talk about our process being continuous. So we don't have all the answers. So there'll be information that'll continue to come out as we talk to people from a background standpoint or something can come up. I mean, some guys just finished working out last week if they've been injured. So there's always information trickling in. So you're always adjusting and taking that information in and seeing how it's going to affect where a player is on the board. But as far as how much it changes quite a bit from when we set it initially in February because, one, you don't have medical. You have a bunch of questions on players. They haven't done any of the athletic testing. And really, you're trying to build consensus on which players can stay, which players check all the boxes from scouting, from analytics, from coaching, and those are the guys that stay in spots on the board. And then you get into this time of year, and it's how do you acquire the player? What's their market when it comes to draft day? Where do you have to take a player? So all those factors come into it. So it's pretty malleable, and it's been that way since John came in and that first draft in 2010, and that was different from what preceded it. I mean, we were more rigid early, my first few years here. So I think the process is, I think we all buy into how we do it and how long and thorough it is. But I think we ultimately get to a good spot, by the time next week rolls around.
Last year you had the 5th pick last year the 5th pick in the first round. This year you were at 16. Does that change anything at all, and kind of how you have to approach the top of the draft? Or
It changes quite a bit. I don't know if these guys want to. It's just it's the calculus of what players are going to be available, right? You had to see who the 5th player would be last year, and then we also had 20. So you were trying to figure out who was going to be in each spot. This year we're at 16. So that's a lot more factors go into that. A lot more players will go off the board. So you're trying to figure out if there's going to be a player there that you want to select, or if not, if you have a trade partner to slide back with. So we're working both angles all the time.
Nolan, how does the acquisition of Sam Howell change, if at all, how you guys perceive your need at quarterback going into this draft?
Yeah, I would say, and I touched on, and free agency and the Sam Howell trade kind of falls into that category, right? And so the goal during free agency is really, it's been tried and true and year after year that's not how you build, right? It's an opportunity to supplement your roster. And that was the goal, including the Sam Howell trade, is to supplement our roster and get to a point where we don't really feel like we need to force anything, and all options are on the table, whether we're talking about a player at a position or our ability to move up and down the draft. So I think we achieved that. We're excited about what we did, excited about what we're going to be able to do next weekend and moving forward, because even after the draft, we're not done, right? So all options on the table, and excited about that.
In that same vein, does the acquisition of Lakin kind of do the same thing for the offensive line? Kind of make so you don't have to like force a line pick?
Lakin. That was a really good acquisition for us, because all that guy does is play football. We talk about the best ability being availability, right? And we're talking 130 plus starts for him, 90 some in a row. He doesn't miss time. So, and he's going to been a key cog of some good offensive lines that we're familiar with down in San Francisco, and we're happy he's a Seahawk and moving forward.
Nolan, obviously the focus when it comes draft time is evaluating all these players, but where's the importance also of like the pro guys knowing other teams? So you're going into, okay, well, here's what we think this team's going to do, what they need, just that knowledge of all 32 teams as you go into it.
Yeah, Matt or Trent kind of talked about it, and Brady had asked about roles, and that's a part of it. Constant communication in the draft room, trying to assess based on need what player could be coming off the board, and just trying to be a step ahead and understanding the landscape so that we can be prepared when our selection comes.
How successful have you been pegging that second board with the rest of the league, and how do you think your continuity has helped in that regard and your contacts around the league?
In terms of assessing needs and where they might.
Predicting where the rest of the draft will go and anticipating a guy won't be here for us then, and trade partners, and how accurate has that second board been, and how has your continuity helped that? I'm not trying to give away your state secrets, but.
You want to go ahead?
I think it's obviously much better early on. Patrick Ward does a great job of basically putting the analytics together, and you know, the first round is much more concrete in terms of what players are going to come off the board. So as you get into the second, third, fourth rounds, it becomes less and less likely of. I mean, we still have a good idea what position, but in terms of the player, it's not as concrete.
Is this draft as deep, given all the NIL and all the varying things that have happened from top to bottom as drafts of the past few years, or are you seeing any change there in terms of like, the overall kind of depth of the class from first round to 7?
I think you've seen it the last few years with all the kids going back to school using their COVID year. There are less and less players in the class. So obviously that'll thin out the back, and then the UDFA class is different. So I think we've got one more year of that next year, and then it'll be back, as Aaron was talking about, to normal numbers. But they're always players. It's about identifying the role fit and then the culture fit, and those guys tend to be successful if you identify both those things.
For Matt or for Nolan, in terms of a new head coach, Mike McDonald, obviously he's younger. You're also going from a defensive-minded head coach to another defensive-minded head coach. But in terms of players you're looking for, how does that change with Mike McDonald? We've heard players say physical and dominant over and over again with what the style of play they want to have. What kind of change, if there is a minor one, from Pete Carroll style to Mike McDonald style are you looking for?
Yeah, again, there's only so much football, so I wouldn't say that a lot changes. One thing that I would emphasize is versatility. I think they probably touched on it by retaining Leo, his ability to play up and down the line of scrimmage, depending on the front and personnel. I know a player that we're really excited about, that they're excited about, is moving around is Draymond Jones, because of his ability off the edge, his ability to rush anywhere from the 3 to the 6, maybe even out to the 9. And so we feel like we have versatility throughout our roster. You talk about the back end with Julian Love and now Rayshon Jenkins. We're truly nuanced at that safety position. Talk about Kobe Bryant, who's a player that's going into his 3rd year, but he's played outside corner, he's played nickel, he's played dime. And so they've kind of identified some of that versatility that's already here, and we're excited about seeing what they can do with it.
How do you feel about the linebacker spot with the two guys you brought in there?
We got two good athletes. Both have had the opportunity to wear the green dot. Dodson with Frazier, Coach Leslie Frazier in Buffalo. So you talk about communication. Again, you talk about athleticism. You talk about coverage awareness. And again, the athlete. They've put that on full display. And Dodson's also had value in the kicking game. So yeah, we're pleased with where that position group is, and we've got some young depth level players that we're excited about too.
Aaron, because of how spread out the offenses are in college, is there a significant difference in what like backers and DBs have to do in college versus what they'll be asked to do in the pros?
I think you're seeing more of the college game leak into the pros, right? So I don't think it really. I guess maybe they're adapting earlier than we are, NFL game, but overall. But I think there's a lot of carryover now. It doesn't seem much different to me, at least from a defensive perspective, what those guys are required to do. Run and hit, cover people, tackle, right? Other than that, yeah, I think there's enough of the college games leaked in the NFL now where you got to look at the same. It's got to be pretty consistent. Guys that can cover at a premium, so it's a good thing at every level.
As you guys have scouted them, what stands out about this year's quarterback class?
It's a talented group. It's a really talented group. So we spent time studying those guys, visiting with them. Yeah, it's without getting into specifics about players, I think it's one of the stronger groups that there's been in the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
In terms of depth.
What about interior offensive line?
What about it?
What about your impressions of that group?
Yeah, they're good players. They're good players at all spots across, all position groups. I don't really want to get into a whole lot of specifics about, which position has strengths in the class and which doesn't. At this point.
There are 6 Huskies that might end up going in the first 3 rounds. You got an OC that just came from there. Do you find him talking those guys up a lot, or is he able to kind of separate?
You guys can chime in here too, but I think he's been awesome. He's been really, open to players at all schools, and we take the information he's got on those guys. We have quite a bit of inside information on the Husky guys with him and Scott Huff, our offensive line coach. And so that's really valuable to us. But as far as pushing players from one school or another, I have not seen that at all. He's a good evaluator and really been a good part of our process.
The Saturday of draft weekend, the 7th round, I've been told it's sometimes chaotic, like Wall Street trading. Is it all hands on deck with calling potential UDFAs versus is this guy gonna get drafted and hey, we're gonna call you at the end of the draft and all that kind of stuff? And I know there's some things you're posted about.
Referring to that all kind of comes to, but seriously, after the 7th round. But there is a process for it, and you have to have organization to it. And I like our process for it. We treat it like another draft.
Is it everybody that's making calls and contacts, or you have to funnel that, streamline it?
Yeah, we funnel it, and there's different levels of communication. Who's communicating with whom? Whether it's representation, whether it's the player, because there's the negotiation piece, but those guys are all free agents, so there's also the recruiting piece. So it's a nuanced and detailed approach to a really important part of our process to kind of put a bow on it.
What's it like? One more. When you guys, do months, years of scouting on a guy, and then a couple weeks before the draft, something comes up, you get new information on him, or he gets in trouble. How do you guys handle that?
It's just part of the process. I think probably the toughest thing throughout the evaluation process, the scouts develop such great relationships with all the players, and you can get emotionally attached to these kids, these players. They know their coaches, they know their background, they know so much about them, and you can just hear the passion when they talk about these players, and they'll push for them, or sometimes they won't push as much for them, but a guy like Armani Perez, there's probably nobody more passionate about his players than him, and you can feel that in the room. And when he's talking about him, you just kind of gotta separate him talking about the person and the player because ultimately you want to know both things, right? The person, the player. But I guess that's probably one of the toughest things for me is just separating the emotions from the player, the scout and the player. Sorry.
For any of the four of you, it seems like that as analytics become more incorporated into like draft boards and everything, teams are less likely to trade up. At least that's what it seems like. Have you seen as analytics become more prevalent, finding trade up partners is harder?
I don't know if we've tailored it to that. I mean, there's obviously like approximate value and things that we talk about, but I don't know if it's a definitive driver in which direction we go. It's just more information and an assessment of exactly putting a number on what we're doing.
Trent, Aaron, just a quick one. Does the number of times of college player transfers affect how you evaluate them if it's 3 and potentially 4 eventually?
It's funny you bring that up because I was looking at something the other day. We have some guys, we have 3 or 4 reports on already. Some are still in college. So I guess the positive thing is that report's done hopefully for next year, but no. I think it's pretty prevalent. A lot more quarterbacks, I would say, stand out. Quarterbacks are moving schools. That stands out. But if they say there's like a position, no, I don't know that. But it's always interesting now. We've got, if you ask our college guys, you get 2 or 3 reports in there in 2 different areas. It's pretty funny.
So I would say it used to be more of a red flag than it is now. Now it's just guys trying to make more money.
Do teams use their own charts to determine like this pick is worth this much, or when you're assessing a trade in a draft?
Different charts that we'll look at.
Anything else? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.